Hey, thank you all. Short week, but very successful week. Getting the budget resolution off the floor 41-3, I think sends a strong signal. And the fact that 2 of those 3 no votes actually got up on the floor and debated about how great the process was and how they were included in every step of the way just underscores that we said what we meant and we executed beautifully on what we intended to do. To this stage, it's worked out wonderfully. We'll see if it changes the process overall. Hopefully it will, and bring more transparency to the negotiations between the House and Senate and Governor as we move forward. We're committed to that end. I think we passed a budget that makes sure we keep our commitment to public schools, to infrastructure, to healthcare. Obviously, it's a first step. This is what we've authorized our probes team to go and try to negotiate, and we'll have some back and forth, but every one of those back and forths when it comes to the Senate will be in an open, transparent manner. And so I'll take any questions people may have. Excited to be here today.
We just spoke with Senator Nathan Dahm, and he says, based off of your comments made last week, that him and Senator Evers weren't exactly terrorists, but acted in a terroristic manner by filibustering for so long. He says he simply wants an apology. Is that something that you would entertain?
No, I have no intent of apologizing. They were acting childishly. It was frustrating, but it really didn't change anything we did. We got through the whole process. We let him throw his temper tantrum and read all the way through the bill. It was very immature, but no, I have no intent of apologizing for what I said.
A week later, would you walk back on the comments that you made?
No, I mean, probably more accurately, they were acting in a toddler, a childlike fashion. But they were, Dom was trying to mutilate the process and just hold it up. And they were trying to give us a list of demands of bills that hadn't even been heard in committee. They wanted me to pervert the process that they so zealously say that they defend in order to achieve their ends. If I would have done what they asked me to do for someone else's bills, they would have said Treat's abusing his power. So it's a distraction. They love the attention, the fact that he's reaching out to you and talking to you. He wants attention. He's going to get a bunch of earned media out of this deal, and more power to him.
Senator, who are the winners and the losers on the budget deal?
Oklahomans are the winners. The losers are people who want to keep it behind closed doors. This is really a process deal. When you look through the budget, obviously your question tells more than that, who got more what they asked for than others. What I really want to focus on is the process. Where I've been very focused on it, I think if you have a good process, if you have a transparent process, the outcome will take care of itself. And so education's still a big winner. You don't see a huge increase in education spending, but remember, we had the largest increase in state history last year. We sustained it. Some people wondered if we could sustain that. We've kept our commitment to transportation. We've kept our commitment in healthcare, DHS. But the process and Oklahomans for the long term will be winners because no longer will it be acceptable to do the budget behind closed doors.
Can you talk about the $14 billion equalization number to be around 12.3? Why save that around $1 billion-ish dollars? What is the purpose of that?
We set a goal out early on, Senator Thompson, myself, Senator Hall, and others, that we wanted to have enough cash in reserve to weather storms beyond what we can weather through the rainy day fund, the FMAP savings account, and the revenue stabilization fund. And we arbitrarily set that number at $1 billion and wanted to keep that under, so we wanted to keep cash on there. Last time that we had a real shortfall and we had to borrow, cash flow wise, we had to borrow some money from ODOT. That was about $400 million. And we wanted to have enough cushion to be responsible. That's the reason we waited for those February 15th numbers to come out, passed the grocery tax relief to Oklahomans, and we knew exactly what we had to be able to spend.
And just a follow-up on that, there's a few House bills coming over.
3.5 billion of them, I think.
Dealing with tax reform, and specifically, but is that still the stance of not touching any more tax reform?
We provided grocery tax relief. We felt like that was the most immediate relief we could provide, the most meaningful relief, and what we could afford. The House has sent $3.533 billion of either spending or revenue decrease combined, and that was before last Thursday. That's their druthers. They can do whatever they want. That's not a criticism of them, but we cannot do everything that they sent us and balance the budget. And so it's time for serious talk, not just campaign slogans about, hey, I wanted to cut taxes more than the other guy. It's about how do you balance the budget, how do you deliver services, and how do you do it in a responsible manner. I'm proud that we helped get a grocery tax cut done, passed, and signed into law. And now we're about doing the business of making sure that we balance the budget.
Senator Kurt was one of those folks who called the process transparent before the bill yesterday. She raised issues that some agency heads might not be asking for what they actually need because of pressures from the governor. What do you make of this?
Yeah, those are legitimate concerns, but we went through a vetting process on that. We asked them to come back in and say, did you really mean what you said on a flat budget? Some recanted, many stayed the course. You'll see that we actually appropriated some to like DHS that they didn't ask for. They were trying to keep flat, but we felt the waiting list was important enough that we wanted to keep our commitment there. So Senator Kurt has a point. I was disappointed she voted no because she's been so included in the process, but I understand her perspective on it. And the governor did use his prerogative as the governor to put some pressure on agencies to try to submit flat budgets where they may not have on their own volition.
In these next few weeks through May, as we enter negotiations between the two chambers, how does transparency remain when it's kind of less in your control, I guess?
Well, we don't know what the House wants to spend on anything yet. We've seen the $3.5 billion of bills that came over before last Thursday, so through Wednesday. But we really don't know what they're advocating for on the budget. I'm sure they'll share a spreadsheet with my team soon. When we do, we'll go public with it. We intend on nothing's behind closed doors without the public knowing. If the House chooses to join us in that, that'd be awesome. Oklahomans would win. But if they don't want to, that's fine. That's their prerogative and that's their decision to make. But whenever we have counter proposals from the House, we will bring them back in front of an open appropriations meeting and talk about those with all our membership.
Have you gotten any assurances from Pro Tem Greg Treat that he's going to keep this process up next year?
You know, I think McCourtney's been instrumental in making sure this has been successful this year. I appreciate the work of the floor leader team of reserving those Wednesdays back for us to be able to really focus on the budget. I think Senator McCourtney's committed to transparency, but we've got to deliver. Right now, we've delivered on every measurable and metric that I put out. We said week 7 early on. We said we were going to have the resolution. We've hit every one of those, but we wouldn't have hit those with the floor leader team helping us. It's been a all hands on deck, and hopefully we're successful, and hopefully whoever comes, McCourtney and whoever comes after him will be committed to this to the end. But McCourtney's been a very integral part of making this successful.
This may be a process question too, but I find it interesting anytime I see the pro tem vote against a bill on the floor. It happened on Ball and Dice back in 2018. It happened on Representative O'Donnell's bill that you had some concerns about, and today it happened on Senate Bill 458 on the nurse practitioner scope of practice. You, Senator McCourtney, your floor leader, Senator Thompson, your appropriations chairman, all voted no. You still let the bill come up for a vote, and you voted against it. I don't think every leader of every chamber has always done that. If they oppose something, they don't. What was the thinking on that?
I try to be responsive to the needs of the caucus. I'm not a dictator. I'm somebody who leads, and I try to cast a vision, but ultimately I am in my position because of the trust the caucus puts in me. And so contrary to some members' characterization of me, I really like to just have open discussion, open dialogue, and I'm not always on the prevailing side.
Well, can I ask you real quick about a bill that the House sent over, 4097, I think it is. It's Caldwell-Paxton has it. It's the formerly known as ROFR.
Okay.
Now people are calling it NOFR. It's a little different than previously. I know you had interest in PBR and ROFR last year. House said PBR they're not going to do, but have you had a chance to look at that yet, or any thoughts on that issue? Are you still supportive generally of that idea?
Well, I voted against ROFR the first time it came through in 2013 or whatever. And you'll notice last year when we had ROFR and PBR, I dropped ROFR after the first meeting. And so really had it to get people to the table to discuss utilities. I haven't had a chance to read this bill yet. I've been lobbying on it pretty heavily on both sides. but haven't actually had the chance to sit down and actually read through what they're doing. I know there's some stuff in there about anyone can bid on a project, but it has to go back to the incumbent utility, but I just have to see the details on that to make an informed decision.
Based on what you know about Charles McCall and how long you've been here, how do you predict budget negotiations are going to go between now and the end of April?
There'll be a lot of tough stances. There'll be a lot of welling and gnashing of teeth, and then we'll come out, and I think we'll prevail, and it'll be very close to what we've talked about publicly for a long time. But they have, I respect the House of Representatives and their role to play in this. They absolutely are co-equal members of the legislature with us, and we'll respect them the whole way through, as we always have. But it will be arduous, and it will be, there'll be times that we think it's not going to come together, and it will magically come together at the end.
In the past, the Speaker, the Governor, and the Pro Tem have all met for breakfast or lunch to talk about the budget. Do you see that happening here or beginning, or is that not being done this session?
Thus far, it hasn't happened this year. We met previous to session back during that special session. The governor hasn't had those this year, or at least I haven't been invited to them. And so I don't know, but I imagine when we get to the end, we'll probably all get together and talk about it, because there's some parts that have to come together with the three top people from the executive, the House and Senate to make everything come together at the end. So I anticipate we'll have one, but probably won't be like it has been in the past where it's an ongoing thing.
The Speaker has expressed some reservations about State Superintendent Ryan Walters' use of an outside PR firm for national kind of placement. Do you have any similar concerns that the Speaker has said, or any thoughts on that matter at all?
Yeah, I want to look into it more deeply. What somewhat troubling to me is I saw that the State Department was used as to create a business entity, and I know that some people resigned or whatever after that. So yeah, I'm going to look into it. I saw the Speaker's comments. I agree we need to look into it more deeply, but I'm not real well informed on it yet.
Are any further tax cut bills proposed by the House dead as far as you're concerned? The three House bills, 29, 48, and 50, that they approved on Thursday. And if not, what do you think is going to happen to those bills? You guys going to consider them?
We provided tax relief early in session. We wanted to know what our baseline was on appropriations, and we have no intent of running any more tax bills, substantial tax bills this year.
Is there anything that you're willing to negotiate, exchange for, with the House in order to compromise and move forward with the negotiations?
I think the responsible deal is to make sure the budget is balanced, and you can't have a combined spending and revenue decrease of $3.5 billion and balance the budget. So at this point, no, the grocery tax is what we said we would do early on, and I may not be liked by people, but if I say something, I'm not joking around or bluffing, I mean it.
And when you say $3.5 billion, was that the impact, the financial impact of if all of the House bills were passed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, when we send bills over there, we want them to pass. We're not just sending stuff over there just to send a press release out. We're sending over stuff that we think is good policy that balances. In the past, we've gotten a smorgasbord of ideas that they're saying, hey, whichever one the Senate wants to take up. That's not the way we conduct it. That's completely fine and a practical way of doing things. Just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. That's my desire is not to do that. My desire is to do it much more methodical. How does it balance out? Obviously, the House has a critical role to play in this, and we'll respect their role. But yes, that's a combined reduction and increase in spending. I think they spent $1.87 billion in 20 minutes in one of their meetings the other day. It's ironic that our governor talked about wanting to watch that, and the transparency, appreciated it, but we were spending too much money, and he was silent on that. But
following up on Paul's question, last week the executive director of accreditation resigned from the.
I'm sorry.
The executive director of accreditation resigned from the education department. The general counsel resigned. Do you all keep tabs on all the departures over there, and are you ever worried that they may not be able to
I'm watching it, but I don't have a whole lot of insight on what led to those. So I'm watching it because one of the most critical things we do is public education, and that agency is extremely important in delivering that product. So we're watching it, but I don't have any incredible insight on what has happened over there yet. All right. Thank you all.